Now that Bob Iger thinks Nelson Peltz is out of earshot, they are moving all of their movies. Let's talk about that on That Park Place. Hello and good morning. I am Jonas J. Campbell, an investigative reporter for That Park Place, and here with me is movie connoisseur, Mr. Vash Sky. Vash, what is the greatest film ever created?
Many people say Citizen Kane, but I don't know, man. I'm more of a Raiders fan myself. I get it. I understand that's a controversial choice, but can you not love Steven Spielberg and George Lucas coming together? Come on, guys.
That's a very good case. And generally, I beg off and say that I prefer the Lord of the Rings trilogy as my favorite film, but technically it's three, but technically it's one. But let's move on and talk about what Disney is up to here. As we indicated in the title there, Disney is moving all of their films, Mandalorian, Grogu, Moana live action, and Toy Story 5 stake out 2026 release dates. This by Anthony D. Alessandro from Deadline. Big news ahead of CinemaCon for Disney, and they're not showing off their presentation until the last day of the exhibitor and studio Love-In on April 11th. In big 2026 news, that is 2 years from now, Jon Favreau's big screen version of The Mandalorian Grogu, is the updated Star Wars title on May 22nd, 2026. I would just point out that there is still time to change that title. Star Wars films on a theatrical release calendar far, far away used to release around Memorial Day weekend. The last one to do so was Solo, a Star Wars story. No rival wide release on Mando's date yet. Just pointing that out because most of the other studios have yet to release their schedules for then. Toy Story 5 is the title of the untitled Pixar movie on June 19th, 2026. Warner Brothers New Line also have this date on hold for an untitled release. Vash, do you notice anything about Toy Story 5 versus how it's been reported on in the past?
Yeah, so the company has been a little bit cagey calling it Toy Story 5. They said that, they previously said the next installment in Toy Story franchise, and they haven't necessarily acknowledged Lightyear with that. It's very interesting how they're going about that, but maybe you're keying in on something that I didn't know.
That's the exact thing I wanted to mention. Of course, they're not mentioning Lightyear, which was a financial misstep and maybe a narrative and branding misstep for the Walt Disney Company. If you look at the box office on that one,
He has bad taste.
Yeah. I would agree there. That movie is lacking in more ways than one. The live action version of Moana, though, because right now Disney is on Moana Fest over there, and 2 for 1 for the price of one ticket, you can confirm 2 Moana films for the Disney company. The live action version of Moana, impacted by the Thanksgiving release this year of Moana 2, will hula dance its way from June 27th, 2025 to more than a year later, July 10th of 2026. No competitive releases on that date. That's fascinating to me. First of all, Vash, fill us in on what happened with Moana 2.
Oh, Moana 2 is a very interesting story because apparently it blew everybody away when they were looking at the dailies or the roughs for the Moana Disney Plus series. That was originally where that footage was going. And then Bob Iger's like, oh no, we're so impressed. We need to make this a movie, when in actuality, nothing had really been filled for that November slate of this year. Obviously, Disney needs something to fill in with that. A lot of people were wondering, where is that animated film going to be that's usually in that slot? And well, it looks like Moana being made into, taken from a Disney Plus series and made into a sequel is where it's going to go. And this is getting the Vancouver studio involved. This is going to be their first theatrical production for that studio of, 400 people there. Newly formed. Very, very interesting right there. Obviously, the voice cast hadn't even been addressed, much less signed on to the project. Now, with that recent shareholders meeting that we just saw last week, it obviously has been confirmed by Bob Iger and other sources that they do have the 2 titular characters attached to that film. But I mean, this This is quite the monumental task here for this newly formed studio, Jonas.
Yep, to have 6 months to convert a Disney Plus level, and Disney Plus has not been a bastion of quality as far as these, like Zootopia Plus is an excellent example. It's I don't know how many episodes it is, but overall it's I think less than 45 minutes of content released over several different shorts, and they're not really the best shorts either. I think that Disney is kind of struggling to even call them short. So I don't mean to rag on this one in particular, but if you go to the Baymax series that was released on Disney Plus, there are many videos on this platform talking about Baymax. In fact, one on the Everything Woke channel that talks about Baymax. So when you go from one of these to another, of course, this is not something where like we look at Buzz Lightyear of Star Command or something like that, where you take the essential essence of what it used to be and change it into something different. Now they're taking something that I think is very different and probably not of the quality level of the full animated film, and trying to retrofit it into a full Walt Disney feature animation full release within just 6 months. These things take, as we've heard, 5 years to get from the start to the finish, and now they have 6 months. I hear they're cutting out songs. They've gone from like 6 songs to maybe 3 songs because they just don't have time in order to do this right here. I think this is a problem.
Well, that's the thing too. I mean, we're doing it without Lin-Manuel Miranda. That's first off. I mean, that's going to be a monumental task as that goes. We're taking a first-time director, if I'm not mistaken, that he's necessarily never led a theatrical animated piece like this, and we're putting that with a new studio, new crew, all of that. And there's a July deadline, from what we understand, if we're going by the timeline as set for Wish, as noted by Alan Ng in the D files. I don't know how this is going to work. Jonas, I'm struggling here.
I don't know either. So the other thing is that we finally have full confirmation. You know, it was after this was announced that they announced that they finally signed The Rock and also Auli Cravalho. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing your name. This sounds like they got the cart before the horse, and they looked at the fact that Moana is the only successful movie on the platform. In fact, it's the most successful movie in streaming, which unfortunately what that sounds like is it's not saying much about movies on streaming, and that television is really the bread and butter of streaming, because that's why they divide out movies into a different chart. I'm not trying to rag on all movies that are released to streaming. I'm just trying to point out that this is Moana being the biggest show in streaming and also being a 2016 release for the Walt Disney Company. I think that speaks to a problem at the current Walt Disney Company. And here we are. And we have Moana 2, also the live action version of Moana. And of course, not to mention the Frozen 3. I almost said Frozen 2, but I forgot that Frozen 2 existed. Frozen 3 and 4 being talked about by the Walt Disney Company right now. There's this continuous going back to the well, and the well is getting drier and drier as they get closer and closer to the more modern day. Moana will be the quickest live action remake they have done so far whenever this comes out. And I think maybe there'll be a sequel. Maybe there'll be a live action Frozen confirmed by the time they get to the live action Moana. I don't know.
Oh, well, we know that Frozen is also going to be, 3, 4? You can see why they're doing that now. They need content, and unfortunately, the hits necessarily haven't come in terms of animation. So whatever you have that's viable, go is the mantra here. Also, we can see the next paragraph right there. Tron Ares is now taking the place of the untitled Disney dated film, October 10th, it looks like, 2025, which, I mean, it might be several years too late. You know, Daft Punk disbanded in the time that Tron Legacy came out. So that's again, the viability of a lot of this stuff, I question.
You know, I'm not really interested in what these Tron characters do if they get into the real world from the digital world, but I don't know. Stranger things have happened. But that being said, let's read it. Produced by former Disney live action movie president Sean Bailey, is filing the space that Disney RSVP'd for an untitled movie on October 10th, 2025. Paramount has an Aang Avatar animated movie on this date. That's funny phrasing right there, because I guess they don't want to say the last Airbender, but it almost sounds like his name is Aang Avatar, like he's from the family of avatars, and his name is Aang. Let's see what else here. And then there is, I'm not going to say the name of this on here, but there's something I'm a little frustrated with the Disney company right now, and it speaks to the fact that the Disney brand essentially means nothing. It is a holding company for all kinds of different intellectual property, as opposed to what they used to do, which is, they would have brands like Miramax and Touchstone and Hollywood Pictures, so that they could do these kinds of films without damaging that highlighted Disney brand. I mean, I hate to say it like this, like man shakes fist at cloud. The Disney brand used to mean something, and now it seems like anything could be attached to that. There's some argument here about whether Searchlight is technically not a Disney brand, but based on their comments on the last earnings call, I would say that the Disney brand and Searchlight, they're trying to decrease the daylight between those two brands. But we'll talk about that more at another time. Maybe there's still a chance for them to at least change the title. There, I'm one of those people that I think even the titles maybe need to what's the best phrase, that if you have a rated R or PG-13 title for a movie, then that creates a problem in the marketing of that film, especially under the Disney brand. But maybe I'm a bit of a prude. But if prude means having some standards, I don't know. But we want to leave this to our commenters here. What do you think about all of these moves that have made by the Walt Disney Company? Is Mandalorian pushing back? Is that a good thing, allowing it more time to gestate? Is Tron moving up a sign that this is really great and they just want to get it out even sooner? What are you looking forward to on this release schedule? Believe it or not, there are things to look forward to. I noticed that Young Woman in the Sea, the movie starring Daisy Ridley that is produced by Jerry Bruckheimer, that everyone said was going to Disney Plus. Maybe somebody on this little mini panel we have right here called that was going to be moved to a theatrical release, but they would be patting themselves on the back if they said that. So if you like this video, drop a comment if you have something to say, and of course, consider subscribing to That Park Place for all the news that should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Place News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media account.